ourselves, brothers and sisters, we possess a must-have-it-now attitude. And so we find few things in life truly worth waiting for. And tragically, sisters and brothers, that same attitude, that same mentality can and often does seep over into our relationship with God. By our own finite estimations, we surmise that God can and does at times take too long. We need him to come through now. We need him to make a way now. We want him to deliver us now. And if he does not do it now, if we're not firmly rooted and established in our faith, we will soon grow weary and frustrated with waiting on God. And brothers and sisters, if left unchecked and unchallenged and unchanged, those frustrations and the weariness of waiting on God can cause us to misclassify God, or even worse, abandon God altogether. Have you ever grown weary of waiting on God and misclassified him? Said, God, you really don't care. God, you must not have all the power that I once was made to believe that you have and possess. You can grow weary and frustrated with waiting on God. And if that weariness, if that frustration, brothers and sisters, if it goes unchallenged, unchecked, unchanged, it can cause us to misclassify God. And if we're not careful, Satan can cause us to abandon God altogether due to some elongated period of sickness. If you're not careful, it can cause you to misclassify God and to walk away from God. Some extended episode of financial inadequacies where we find ourselves strapped for cash and facing financial uncertainty, where days turn into weeks and weeks turn into months, and all of a sudden we begin to question and wonder, are you truly a God who is able to provide? Are you really Jehovah Jireh, my provider? Are you really a God who's worth waiting for? Are you really all powerful, all knowing? Are you the God that this Bible depicts you to be? Are you a God worth waiting for? And this mindset, brothers and sisters, this mentality, we see in the prophecy of Isaiah that it had seeped into the very psyche of God's people. God has permitted Isaiah to look into the future and see a situation where God's very own people begin to doubt him and mislabel him as their God because of what God is going to do in the life of his people. because of their disobedience, because of their wicked ways, God is going to allow Babylon to overtake his people and send them into exile, into captivity, just short of the promised land. And as God's people now sit under the weight and the frustration of this captivity, we see where Satan begins to erode their faith, their trust in God. The Bible says because of their exile and because of the length of their captivity, because of the extension of their captivity, they grew weary and frustrated with waiting on God. That they called out, they cried out, and heaven seemingly remained silent. And God seemingly, brothers and sisters, remained unmoved and indifferent to the pleas of his people. And because they could not see the movement of God's hand in the midst of their situation, they came to a collective conclusion that God must not be the God that he has claimed himself to be. My brothers and sisters, we have to be careful. We have to be very sure that our anchor holds and grips the solid rock. Because situations and circumstances will come upon us to test our faith. And if you're not sure that your anchor holds and grips the solid rock, you'll begin to question whether or not God is a God worth waiting for. In this passage, we see the charges that Israel levies against God because of his slothfulness in their eyes concerning their condition and their situation. If you back up to verse 27 in this same chapter, you'll see where Isaiah says to the people, "Why do you say, O Jacob, and assert, O Israel, that my way is hidden from the Lord, and the justice due me escapes the notice of my God?" My brothers and sisters, we see the people of God, because of their frustration with waiting on God in the midst of their misery, that they bring forth, they charge God with ignorance. That because he is a God who does not know where I am, because he does not know what I'm going through, because God seemingly is unaware of what I am dealing with, because my way has been hidden from the Lord, they accuse God of being ignorant. That God does not see me. That he must not be omniscient, all-knowing. Because surely if he did, he would do something about the situation that his children now find themselves in. You have to be sure that your anchor holds and grips the solid rock. They accuse God of ignorance. Have your faith ever been shaken to that extent, to where you were on the very verge of accusing God of not knowing your condition. You're way hidden from God.